Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How you doing? You're at the spot, the place, the location, where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today we're going to Indiana. I've never been to Indiana. I had to have her give me a little geography lesson as to where in the heck it even was. We're going to talk to Stacy Rinard. Stacy works with people to take them to their highest and greatest good. She is a mom, she's a wife, she teaches Reiki, she helps people really trying to find out who they are as, intuitively. She's a certified hypnotist, and she is an intuitive life coach. What is an intuitive life coach? I'm excited to find out. So let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Miss Stacy?
I am fantastic, Miss April. How are you?
I can't complain about nothing. We were talking about the weather. I'm looking at myself right here. Girl, I'm channeling my mother. I look just like my mother right now.
You look fantastic.
I know. Do you look like your kids look like you?
My youngest one does, yes.
Yeah, they got that strawberry blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes,
know.
ma'am.
That's a gift. My daughter loves a redhead. She says, "Oh my goodness, I love a ginger mama." So tell my brains a little bit about you, Stacy, and how you show up in the world.
Well, I grew up in Indiana, lived here my entire life. I grew up on a farm in southern Indiana, farm girl. Uh, I have two beautiful children, an amazing husband. We got two fur dogs for
Mm,
kids. Can't leave them out.
I know.
And how I show up in the world is I want the best for people. I really do. But I had to start with myself to get there.
Mm, mm, mm.
Really diving deep into things that were part of my childhood and what carried on into my adulthood and my relationships and
Mm.
bringing them to the forefront and really digging deep into myself and understanding what I brought to the table.
Well, people would assume living on a farm in Indiana that life would be easy and simple and there wouldn't be a lot of confuffery or complications that are going on there. But then, too, it's kind of remote and isolating. So it could, have potential traumas or secrets or whatever that go on. And people never know about it because, you know, that's not it. So when you came to
Mhm.
the realization that just something just didn't sit right with your soul, what did you start doing to make it better?
First, I started choosing myself.
Mm.
Um, I learned Reiki and I started working on my mindset, my emotional body, and my spiritual body. Because most of my life, I people thought that I was handed things, and I really wasn't. I had to work for everything I had. Uh, church was a big part of my family, and I learned some different things there than I did as I started choosing myself and paying more
Girl, I
attention.
know. You don't have to hem and haw. The church is mind control. That's why religion was. I'll say it, Brains. Y'all get mad if you want to. I don't care. But the church was designed to keep you in line. The
Yeah,
religious doctrine, okay. And I was going to ask you about that because was there a little I don't know, people get religion, the religious doctrine, and spirituality. They think they're one and the same. They're not. They go hand in hand.
hmm
Okay, one is the other. But God, I call him Gus, God, universe, and spirit. Okay, Gus is a higher ascension.
Mhm.
outside of the text. The text is by interpretation. Okay, it's
Yes.
written in different languages. You got the Torah, you got the Quran, you got the Bible, you got all this kind of other stuff. You got shamans and priests and monks. Everybody, God's come to us all the way that we understand it.
Mhm.
But ultimately, we're trying to get to that higher frequency. Am I am
Yes,
I am I feeling you?
yes, you are.
Yeah, and people get it strange, but don't go in the church and talk about no spirituality. Oh, you bringing in the devil and you do this, and you're not going by what the book says. Well, how many times have you opened up a cookbook and made the cake, but you put some peaches in there, and then now you got a peach cobbler? How many times you done
Yes.
opened? How many times you done baked some biscuits and forgot to put the baking soda in there and it went flat? So it's based
Mhm.
on interpretation. So when you got your aha moment
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you started working on yourself, I mean, just really, what was the moment that you just said, let me find something outside of what I've been taught.
My last relationship before my marriage
Oh,
to
okay.
my current husband. Um, it was a very toxic relationship, a lot of mental and emotional abuse, and I prayed every night that I could keep that last little spark to get me out of that mess. And finally, one day, I made a choice and I made a plan and I got out.
Mm, mm,
And from then on, it was working on myself. Only later to discover, I allowed that to happen. I gave that person that much power over me to make me feel small and insignificant. And when I started taking that power back and standing up for myself and creating boundaries to where my power is my power, it's not allowed, and nobody's allowed to have it. Nobody can take it from me. I can freely give it if I choose. But I had to learn to stop doing that because it made me a doormat.
mm, mm, mm.
It made me too passive and too much of a doormat and just allowing people to walk over me doing what they wanted. And so I had to really sit down with myself and be like, girl, we got a mess. We got to figure it out.
But you seem so sweet and docile. I shouldn't say it looked like you'd be easy to take advantage of, and it's not taking advantage of because you're giving your whole heart. Are you
Hmm.
empathic? Do you
Yeah.
feel other people? Yeah, well, yeah, that's you see. I am not an empath, but I am empathic because I know how to turn it off. Okay, this is not my stuff. Okay, I just had to do that a few
Hmm.
minutes ago. It kind of broke my heart. I had to end a friendship, and I was trying to figure out the best way to do it.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, do you want to just ghost them? That's not my style. Do you want to send them a text? I don't like that either because that's impersonal. But we already had a conversation and I don't want no more dialogue with you. I don't want no more conversation because it didn't go well. So what do? You have to make a choice. And you had to make a choice. You had to make a plan and you had to choose yourself first.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
when you chose yourself, you said, okay, these are the action items. But then was there a conflict because you said, well, I'm this girl from the church and the Bible and the pastor and the mothers of the church say that you need to do this, you need to honor that marriage, because he's a good man. He may hit you, but he paid the bills. Did you have that conflict?
When I was younger, yes, I
Mm,
did have that conflict. But I also thought too, is it more important that my children see me miserable in a relationship with somebody that does not value me, or to be on my own, valuing myself,
mm,
taking care of myself, and I'm happy?
mm,
People don't always understand that you always have a choice. You always have a choice. And that was one thing that I learned about myself as I was going through this process of healing was I had to break my belief system. I had to restructure it, rebuild it, and follow what really felt true to my heart. rather than what I was taught.
But how did you move to hypnotherapy and intuitiveness and Reiki? I mean, that's a diagonal. It's not a straight
Mhm.
up or straight down. That's going to the right or going to the left. How did you find that?
I felt pulled to Reiki, and that was the first one I started with. Um, I wanted to understand it more. It kept popping up, and usually in my thought process is if something keeps coming to you, it's calling to you, so you need to pay attention to it. So I started doing Reiki. I did level 1 and 2, and then I went and got my third level and my teaching. And after that, I kept building upon it. And so did the intuitive, working on my intuitive life coach certification. But I was still stuck at that point. Like, um, when they talk about avatars and, making your niche, I had a really hard time coming up with a niche, or niche is the appropriate word, I guess.
That's okay. That's all right. I got you.
Because like in my life, I've always been like more of a jack of all trades and a master of none type person. Um, I was too open and I couldn't just bring it down. And so that required me to do some more work. And so I wanted to learn how the mind worked, how these brains work,
Yep.
and understand why people do the things they do, why they think the way they think. But I didn't want to go to psychology school and, get a PhD in 8 some years. So I found hypnotherapy,
Okay.
and it opened my mind up to the understanding of our conscious and our subconscious and our traumas, and um, the fight and flight and fawn responses, and where we get stuck at in those old programs that are in our minds
Hmm.
that we have to address.
Right. So going into this, as people would maybe assume, a metaphysical type of space, because when you're dealing with the subconscious mind and hypnotherapy, I know I can take myself down. Um, and so I'm really a firm believer in that. People understand. I have to tell y'all this all the time. Because she hypnotizes you, don't make you bark like a dog or quack like a duck. You
Right.
cannot do anything that your subconscious is not going to allow you to do anyway. And then after that, there's some neuro linguistic programming. There's some suggestions that she taught to yourself. And talk nice to yourself without even being
Mhm.
hypnotized. Have that I am conversation,
Mhm.
But people don't do it because it takes courage, and you found the courage, and that takes a lot to be able to do that. How is Reiki being and hypnotherapy being received in Indiana? I just say this with love. I'm not judging. I'm trying to figure it out. I told you I ain't never been there. I don't know.
No, you're fine. I mostly work with people online. I do have a couple things coming up. So I do have an event at our local, the Halo Therapy Salt Cave in Bloomington here this next weekend. And we're going to be doing hypnotherapy with a Reiki infusion.
Mm,
So, um, but as far as most people around here, they don't understand it. They don't understand what energy work is or what it brings, to the mind, body, and spirit. Um, and so I'm trying to kind of teach them and help them with that.
because they think again it's hoo-hoo, it's witchcraft, it's
Hmm.
what you doing all out there. You ain't supposed to be there. You supposed to be sitting here in the pews. And that's okay, because you can sit in the pews and still ascend to God. God is everywhere. He is everything. He is omnipresent. He is energy.
Hmm.
He's energy. Now, y'all can believe the depiction that you see, because I looked at the Vatican and I saw the pictures of Jesus. And from what I was told, Michelangelo painted that because he had an affection and an fondment for the god Apollo. So, you know, my God, I read, looked totally different than that. But when you break it down and we ascend to wherever we're going, we're not going to see this meat suit. It's going to be a totally different thing. You have to be careful when you do Reiki, in my opinion. I'm not a Reiki master, but there's energy thieves. And so, how do you protect yourself that you are a clear conduit and a channel
Mhm.
to move this energy that's given to you from Source, from Gus, and to be able to channel that into someone else?
So I usually put like a protection bubble around myself.
Okay.
Uh, I usually visualize or imagine a white light in, encircling me, but I pull my energy from the earth and what's around me. So I like doing Reiki mostly outdoors or in some kind of area where the elements are present,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, because there's more energetic field there and it's more positive. And basically, you're right. I am a conduit and I allow it to come through me in order to help people, in order to start opening their chakras and helping their body heal, because our bodies are marvelous things. They can heal themselves in a lot of circumstances.
People don't listen to themselves.
Mm-mm.
The world is so convoluted right now that reality is not reality. Reality is based upon perception, it's wishful thinking. If I sat here all day and kept telling you guys that that jacket that she has on is pink, by 5 o'clock, you start be seeing some shades of pink. Is it there? Is her hair cascading on there? Whatever it is, I'm saying, yeah, well, it does look a little pink, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that term. That just seems so shallow and superficial, but it's the truth.
Right.
How do we find our truth, Stacy? How do we accept the good, the bad, and the indifferent? How do we go back to accepting what's really there?
Our heart is the actual key to it all,
Mm,
and finding peace within ourselves. Because once we can quiet the turmoil that's going on in our head and break away from the scars of encased our hearts, then we know what peace is, and everything doesn't seem so hard anymore after that.
you've
It
got
doesn't seem
young
so
kids.
challenging. Yes, ma'am.
What are you pouring into them to keep them balanced? We can't say on the straight and narrow because once they hit the door,
Hmm.
you know, they belong to the world. They have their own mind. Again, that's just another vessel that we are. We're just a conduit to bring them here. But what are you pouring into their mind, their body, and their spirit to keep them, you know, encouraged and motivated and happy in a world now that is so chaotic?
Well, I worked on things with them that I didn't get help from for myself. And that is being an active listener when they have a problem,
Mm,
sitting with them in the mess, letting them know that they're loved every single day, letting them know they're valued every single day, and that their feelings matter.
right.
And whatever feels big to them is going to be big for me, and I'm going to sit there with them. Making them feel seen, valued, and heard is the biggest thing I can give them to help them balance out what's going on in this world and help
Do,
them to be better people.
do you take them to the farm? You guys still got the farm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of feeling because they're outside. Number one, they're with nature. They have an appreciation for the food, the animals. What kind of farm do you guys have? Vegetable farm or animals or?
My dad did vegetables, he grew crops, and then we had cows. If I
Mm,
don't remember a whole lot of my childhood, but I remember we had cows and horses when I was real little.
okay, because there's a different. I just had an animal communicator on my show from Australia, and they speak a different type of love language
Hmm.
that is so simplistic. It's not without words. It's not without uh, emotion, but it's very intimate and um, very caring and very. It's not sensual, but there is a sexiness to it because they want to cuddle you, they want to love you, and if we can get back to that, I think that that would help us out. You had a tumultuous relationship. How
Hmm.
did you find love again? How did you learn to trust?
I had to learn to love myself first.
Mm.
I realized that all those broken relationships were basically a mirror of what I was not seeing within myself, what I was not giving to myself. I wanted love. I thought being a good person, turn the other cheek, doing giving and giving and giving was going to make somebody love me. And that's not true. I had to love myself first. I had to give myself that before anybody else could actually value me and love me the way I deserve to be loved.
But
I had to
love is
start
so
with myself.
subjective, Stacy. Love, again, it's like baking that bread,
Hmm.
that cake I was talking about. Everybody wants to be loved the way they want to be loved. So it's a duality, it's a dance. When you find someone, you say, hey, I'm willing to concede, you say in your own mind, I'm willing to concede this, and this, but my boundary stops here.
Hmm.
And you have to share with that person. So communication is key.
Yeah. Communication's a big key, and that was something that my husband and I agreed to when we first met, was to be fully open and honest with one another and to communicate. And so that carried on to my other relationships too, of being better at communication
Mm.
with other people, that even even the ones that are more confrontational, because I'm not a huge confrontational person, I had to learn to better communicate even when I felt uncomfortable.
I love a good battle. I do. But I'm respectful. I'm respect.
Mhm,
Like I said, this situation I just had to end a few minutes ago. Um, I had to sit down and really say, take that other person's feelings into consideration because I can go.
mhm,
And you don't want to hurt anybody just because you don't want to be with them or be around them or whatever. But you have to protect yourself. And nobody is going to love Stacy like Stacy. Nobody. Not the husband, not the kids, nobody but the Almighty. That's the only
mhm,
person that's going to do that. And you have to figure out, okay, where does the line begin and where does it end? And what no longer serves me?
mhm.
Am I right
Yeah,
about that?
you are. You're absolutely right. We have to set boundaries with ourselves too. You
Absolutely.
know what we're going to take put up with, what we're not going to put up with. All those things from the past are what teaches us how to do that.
Well, I'm so glad that you're on the other side of it and you are willing and able to help others through that. Because you could have just kept all this to yourself. You could have
Yes,
went
ma'am.
in and, been a hairstylist. You could have done anything. You'd stay at home mom, or, you could have done all these things, but you said, no, I'm going to pour into other people. But what is your superpower? Number one. And number two, um, what does it do for you to do this for other people? Everybody's got a return on investment. Everybody got an ROI. We don't do it just for shit and giggles. We do it because dot 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 dot. What's your dot 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 dot?
I would say my superpower is my empathy.
Okay.
I can relate to a lot of people in a lot of situations. Uh, and what I get out of it, it always makes me feel good when I see somebody getting to the other side of it. You know, my investment in them may not cause something to happen radically. It may take time, but once it starts clicking and they start seeing it and they start feeling better and they start feeling more joy in their life because they're working through these things, that's what brings me happiness.
Okay. That's authentic. Um, because again, everybody's got something. Somebody maybe trying to sell a book. Somebody's trying to make $1 million. Somebody's trying to, work through their own issues.
Hmm.
So, brains, your return on investment doesn't necessarily have to be cookie cutter. It doesn't have to be monetary, you know, because the money will come. Money will eventually come if that's what you're into. But if you are into making an impact and being an influencer, then you have a different gravitas. You have a different energy that is going to pull you in that direction and bring people in alignment with you. There may not be, you know, 20 people in your community that understand what you're doing, but they could be the top 20 in the country. So you never know. Let's ask you some fun questions.
All right.
When you were a kid, do you remember milking a cow?
I remember bottle feeding a calf when I
Yeah.
was little. Yeah.
Girl, I milked a cow and I touched those udders. I was mortified. And she looked back at me like she said, "Are you gonna pull this thing? What are you doing here?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If you could have a conversation with a 25-year-old Stacy Rinard, what would you say to her?
Oh, I'd tell her to keep going because I can't wish anything be different because I wouldn't be who I am now if things were
Exactly.
different.
Exactly.
I'd let her know, hey, it's going to be hard. At times it's going to downright just suck, but you're going to make it through it.
Tell me
And
one
on
of
the
your
other side,
tell me one of your success stories. Tell me somebody that you made an impact on.
oh, let's see. I would have to say one of the biggest impacts is my husband.
Okay.
Um, I really don't want to get into a lot of his story because that's his story.
Right.
Um, but he has grown and changed in so many ways, and I'm so deeply proud of the man he's become and how he carries himself and how he handles himself and um, how he, tries to stop and think about things before reacting to things. So
Did
I'm
he
just
let you
really,
did he let you hypnotize him?
I have not hypnotized him yet.
Oh.
He initially told me it was not something like my energy healing was not something that he quite understood or quite believed in. And
Mhm,
I told him, I said, I don't need you to. I just need to be able to believe in myself and
mhm.
we'll get there.
I know. One of the first time I did some Reiki movements on my husband, he was going, "This is a energy massage." He said, "I don't have to take my clothes off." I said, "No, man, you don't have to take your clothes off." If you were an appliance in the kitchen,
Mhm.
what appliance would you be?
Oh, good heavens. Why did I get I? Hmm. Well, I always tell my husband I'm more like an oven than a microwave. You can't just turn everything on real quick. You gotta
That's
let it warm
cute.
up.
That's cute. That's cute. I choose to be the refrigerator.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to sit somewhere and chill.
I like that.
So, if you could time travel and go back to the
Mhm.
past, stay here in the present, or project to the future, where would you land?
Hmm. That's a tough one because I do past life regression in my hypnosis, so I've seen a couple of those. Um, I think I would probably stay right here, honestly. Um, Things in the past were really neat. There's a lot of interesting things in how history happened. Um, but no, I feel like I would be here at this time.
Not me. I'm going to
Mhm.
3,000. I'm going, girl. I want to see if they still rocking afros and how are we making love? Are we just touching noses? What is AI doing? What is AI concocted for us? All of those kind of things. So
Mhm.
I would do that.
Yeah.
If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
Mm, Probably my favorite one. It would be a 72 Chevy Nova.
Now you want a Chevy Nova.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a classic.
Ain't nothing wrong with a classic, because you know what I'd be? I'd be a
Hmm.
1974 VW van.
There you go.
I would. I'd have a hookah pipe in the back. I'd have a mattress. I'd have some flowers painted on the side. We'd be listening to some Jimi Hendrix and Sly and the Family Stone. Girl, I'd be right there. I
There
don't
you go.
need no electric uh car. I don't need it. A self-driving car. Self-driving cars. Have you seen them?
Oh, I've read about them. I've not actually seen them.
Girl, I saw one at the airport. I said, next. I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. Speaking of
Yeah.
not being ready, what do you tell the person or encourage the person that is afraid to try hypnotherapy or Reiki? What would you say to encourage them? We can't persuade people. We can't make them do what they don't want to do. But what would you tell them the benefits are?
There's a lot of health benefits to it. Um, like I said, the opening of the chakras, allowing that energy to flow and getting rid of the stuck energy. Um, with the hypnotherapy, it's changing the subconscious, um, more like opening it up to allow new things to flow in and new understandings to come. But uh, mostly it's, people will come to it when it's their time to come to it. Like you said, you can't make anybody do it, and you don't want to push somebody to do something they're not ready for. Um, but encouragement wise, I would definitely tell them that, it allows them to see things in a different perspective
Mhm.
and understand things in a different perspective. Some people get visions whenever I do Reiki with them, uh, maybe of ancestors or past lives that they've experienced, or something that's been hidden to them that needs to come out. So there's lots of different benefits.
Well, and people are afraid of the unknown,
Hmm.
or they are afraid of meeting the demons. I know some people that have been on those ayahuasca trips.
Hmm.
They done did it 3, 4 times. I'm not trying to do all that.
Yeah.
You do it, in my opinion, and that's a little bit too much for me. But
Hmm.
it opens up and it releases and all that. I don't know. I don't know how sometimes that benefits people
Yeah.
because you relive a trauma. And I know in some people tell me psychotherapy, I don't know, I've never had it, but they say that they relive that trauma. But from what I understand in my experience with Reiki and with EFT, emotional freedom technique,
Hmm.
as well as hypnotherapy, is that you can get right to that incident, right to that situation, and you have an opportunity to reframe it. It's not going to go away, but you have an opportunity to reframe it, reshape it, understand it, handle it a different way, absorb it a different way. So, those are some of the benefits that, again, from my experience, that I have seen and that I have heard that have been transformational for people because you are
Yeah.
who you are. And like you said, Stacy said, if those things that she'd been through, if she hadn't been through them, she wouldn't be the woman that she is today. And we all come with a soul contract, and you got
That's
to
right.
fulfill it, whether you fulfill it at 5 or 95. You got a journey, you got a responsibility, you signed up for it. That it is, as I say, it is what it is. But we can make it better.
Hmm.
We may not be able to change it, but we can have tools, wisdom, understanding, coaching, and facilitating to navigate us through it.
Yeah.
And that's what Stacy does. Tell us a little bit about how to get in contact with you, Stacy. Any offerings that you may have now moving forward. We'd love to
Hmm.
hear about it.
All right. Well, you can get in contact with me via Facebook under Stacy Rinard. I'm also on TikTok at Stacy Marion LLC. And then my email is srinard, SRINARD 21 at gmail.com. And I do have an offering. So I'm offering complimentary consultation and then a 10% discount off the first 6 sessions if you mention that you heard us on this podcast.
Okay. So what we're gonna do, brains, is we're gonna take advantage of the consultation. Okay. because you don't know what you don't know. How about that?
Mhm.
And you got to feel the fear, yet do it anyway. That's what Stacy did. Took a chance. She made a plan. Now she's in action. It may not be your PB&J. I get it. But it might be the thing that you needed to flip your switch and turn your life inside out. Turn it around. For you, your kids, your future, your past experiences, your past trauma, might turn around your finances, might open you up to an energetic awareness. I didn't say belief. I'm not trying to take away your book. I'm not trying to do it because I love mine and I still read mine, but I do it in conjunction with other modalities because it that we're not one dimensional. We're not a one-legged stool brains. Okay, we need support. And thank you so much for the support that you've provided for us today, Stacy.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Brains, I need you to do something for me. How about that? I need you to go in and love, like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, we have moved. We're not on Blog Talk. Blog Talk went away. So now we are on Spreaker, which is an Apple product. But you'll be able to Google this, Google my name, uh, Google Stacy Rinard's name, and it's going to come up all over the planet. iHeart, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Podbean, all the hotspots. Okay, so do your due diligence. If this isn't for you, if this is something that you find fascinating and interesting, share it with a friend. It don't cost you nothing to hit that share button, but it could cost you everything if you don't share the good news with yourself. Thank you, Stacy. You are the best. Come back and see me again,
Thank
okay?
you. Thank you, Miss April.
All right.